Lawmakers want to ensure that you drivers get 75% of the fare, regardless what Uber charges. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and the funny thing was I didn't actually think I would be doing a news video today. I recorded the video that you probably saw today where I talked about the strike yesterday, and I learned 2 things to bring to the strike next time. Backup battery so that I can stream longer, and sunscreen. Because, yeah, I have really light skin and it gets reddened really easily, apparently. So I learned that. But I had such an exhausting day that it was like I kind of spent most of the evening relaxing and thinking like, well, I'm just gonna share my thoughts. We'll edit that real quick. We'll put it up and we won't do a new story. And then lo and behold, this showed up in my Facebook group. And that is that Connecticut is actually considering passing a bill that, well, as you can see right there, that would guarantee drivers 75% of the fare. Now, some of you might be asking, like, well, what does this mean? Because I think some people are actually pretty confused about how the payment structure works. Because one of the comments I've been getting in the protest videos and the strikes videos is, why would Uber do this? They're just making less money. No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is that Uber is actually cutting your payment. They're not cutting the rates. They're not cutting what they charge the customer. They're actually charging the same amount from the customer, if not more than what they used to. They just have it where they're going to pay you a certain amount based on whatever crazy metric they come across. So, and I've talked about this in previous videos, and it's kind of complicated to get around now, but lawmakers want to kind of close this loophole. And they want to make it so that regardless what Uber charges, the drivers are guaranteed 75%. Let's read this article from the CT Mirror. Uber and Lyft drivers are closer to taking home a larger share of each ride's payment thanks to a favorable committee vote in Heartland last week. Tuesday afternoon, the state legislators' Labor and Public Employees Committee voted 9-5 in support of Senate Bill SB 989, an act concerning basic labor standards for transportation network company for drivers. If anyone wants to know where the next strike is, or the next protest or rally, whatever you want to call it, it's at this Congress with these people who are voting on this bill. You want to know that you want this to happen. That's your next yeah, it's not really a protest. It's a rally, something like that. Anyway, 24 local Uber and Lyft drivers traveled to Hartford earlier this month to lobby in support of the bill, which would require Uber, Lyft, and other on-demand ride-share services to pay their drivers at least 75% of the amount collected from passengers on any given completed ride. It would also restrict the company's own share to no more than 25% of the total amount of money collected by one of their drivers on a given day. In written testimony submitted to the committee, Uber opposed the bill because of course they did, arguing that it often pays drivers more per ride than what it receives from customers. I highly doubt it. See, don't you gotta love Uber when they do this. No. We normally pay more than what we receive from the customers. So we're the good guys. We're giving them money. Uber, are you listening to yourselves? Do you want to be making this comment publicly as you're about to sell stock on the stock market? Like, you are about to go to Wall Street, claim you are worth $120 billion, and you're making a case that you are actually paying your drivers more than you are receiving. Is that really the look you want when you're about to be asking for investors for billions of dollars? Jeez, Uber, you're so stupid sometimes. An Uber spokesperson also warned that the passage of this bill could result in rideshare drivers who are not employees but independent contractors with Uber having to pay thousands of dollars more per year in insurance payments currently covered by Uber. What's that mean? I've never paid Uber for insurance. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't. Unless what they're saying, hey, I think that's a threat. Like, hey, if you pass this, we might have to start charging the Uber drivers for the insurance. And you wouldn't want that, would you? Like, right now, we're insuring out of the goodness of our hearts. But if you pull this stunt, we will start charging for that insurance. Which at that point, I would say, well, then I guess that means the insurance is going to work for me. Because a lot of Uber drivers are under the impression that Uber has insurance for the drivers. They don't. They really, really don't. You should always have rideshare insurance. If you get into a car wreck with Uber or Lyft and you don't have your own rideshare insurance, it's sometimes as dangerous as not having insurance at all because of how should I put this, stingy the companies are. So yeah, I think that was more of a veiled threat than an actual reason to not pass the bill, but whatever. Tuesday afternoon's committee deliberations resolved around a debate between the Republican and Democratic members of the committee over whether the proposed bill would hurt customers, drivers, and the companies themselves through higher prices and fewer rides, or whether it would simply result in a fair share of pay being distributed to the laborers of the rideshare economy. Quote, "My concern here is that this is going to result in less work for drivers," said Watertown State Representative Joe Polita. "I really don't believe, in all honesty, that this is going to help those it's intended to help." He said that customers will likely face higher fares, successful companies will face lower profits, and drivers will face fewer rides. "I think it's going to result in higher fares and less work for the drivers." Yeah, but here's the thing. One of the things that is brought up, and it's brought up frequently, and I always poo-poo it, is hey, if you actually paid what these rides were worth, you would have driver saturation. Too many people would be on the road trying to make money. First of all, if you believe in the market balancing itself out, Uber and Lyft could, in theory, turn off signups whenever they want. Right now, my referral is paying $700 for a signup, and that's not a plug, by the way. A month ago, they were paying $10 after 30 rides. And they do that when they don't need drivers, it's $10. When they need drivers, it's $700. Well, here's the other thing. If you have this situation where a bunch of drivers are simply not making money, there will be a portion who will quit. And then the ones who stick around, they will make more money. That's how it is. That's the market, how it corrects itself. So anyway, New Haven and Hampden State Representative Robin Porter, House Chair of the committee, disagreed. From her perspective, this bill is about fairness. Quote, "I don't think that people that provide a profit for companies should be treated in a way that doesn't coincide or commiserate with the profits that the companies are receiving. There should be equality. That's the goal of the bill." In response to Perota's concern that the bill would in fact hurt drivers, she referenced the 4 Uber drivers who testified in person before the committee earlier this month. Quote, "The drivers seem to think that this is something that would work and would answer some of the problems they've been having with companies," she said. "And if Perota is concerned about this bill hampering profits for Uber and Lyft, he should remember that this proposed bill arose from drivers' concerns that their own profits have been hampered down by the companies." Porter said the committee members plan to meet with representatives from Uber and Lyft on Tuesday afternoon to talk with them directly about concerns they have with the proposed legislation. Now out of committee, the bill advances to the full state, House and Senate for review and a final vote. So anyway, let's go up to this picture. Now, on the surface, this sounds very, very good. It's one of those things where it's it sounds so great. I can't poke any holes in it. And yet, And to understand where I'm coming from, let me get a little political and talk about another piece of legislation that at the time was actually seen as a very, very big positive step in the right direction and ultimately fell flat in its face. And that is No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind was a bipartisanship bill that was pretty much co-written by George W. Bush and Ted Kennedy, who decided to put their differences aside to try to fix the education system. And while the bill is long and it's complicated, the basic gist of it is that schools were motivated by what everyone is motivated by, money. And so they would write a bill that would hold schools to a high standard. You had to meet certain standards to get your bonuses, to get your payments. And if you failed to meet these standards, you would receive, in effect, a pay cut. And it wouldn't be brought back until you brought the grades back up. Sounded good on paper, really did. But it had a couple negative consequences that I don't believe were intended. The first is when you start cutting money from schools, it's very hard to get back ahead of the game because they're already strapped for cash as it is. But then the second problem it had was that it had to have some standards on where you actually met the goal to get your money and your bonus. So schools started pretty much figuring out what the government was looking for, teaching those basics, and therefore hampering the education process. It was something that started out like a good idea, and when it was proposed, it sounded logical. It really did. But then in practice, there was something that was severely wrong with it, and we suffered for it for a long, long time. And we might still be suffering from it for all I know, because I haven't been to school in a long, long time. Now, here's the thing. A bill, and really a law, that says Uber and Lyft can only take 25% of the fare, and the 75% has to go to the drivers, that sounds like it's logical. It's hard to poke holes in it, but there just might be ways to poke holes in it. I mean, one of the things that the Uber spokesperson said that I think is a red flag is that drivers will have to start paying thousands of dollars more a year for insurance. Drivers, to my knowledge, don't pay for insurance. At least I wasn't paying for insurance when I was driving for Uber or Lyft. Maybe a certain portion of the fare is taken out for the insurance. So what if the way the bill is written, it says, okay, Uber can only take 25% of the fare, but what if they start charging things on the driver's end that the bill says doesn't really say they don't have to do? Like, what if they say, well, we're going to start charging the drivers for insurance. We're going to start charging them the pickup fee. We are going to start charging them all these fees that are technically not covered under the fare. What if Uber and Lyft can redefine what the fare actually is? It's something to think about. And it really needs to be vetted. And the unfortunate thing is, because I think this will pass. I do think this will pass. But we're probably going to have to see it pass, and we're going to have to see exactly how Uber gets around it before we can really perfect it. Because these companies don't want to pay you your money. They don't. They want to use it and buy things like Kareem and, was it Jump that they bought, or was it the Bird scooters? I forget. So again, this sounds like a good step in the right direction, and I can't think of any way that they could actually get around it right now, but they just might be able to do that. And so we need to tread cautiously. Hopefully this bill is vetted, and they start thinking about every possible way that Uber and Lyft can get around this before they pass it. Otherwise, it could be much, much worse for the drivers. But of course, we're going to end it there. What do you folks think? Do you agree, disagree? Do any of you agree with this bill? Do you disagree with the bill? I'd love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even so, $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly. Also, don't forget to check out my Apptrepreneur Vlogs channel and the Facebook group Hangout, the Apptrepreneur Hangouts. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.